Hey, location scouting, what's up? It's a culture detective here investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to be doing a top 50 best albums of the year list. I'm very sleep deprived, I am kind of stressed out by other factors in life, so I'm going to do this quick. So let's get into the honorable mentions first. We have Turkish musical act Altın Gün with Aşk, Amaarae with Fountain Baby, World End Girlfriend with Resistance and the Blessing, one of the most interesting listens of the year for sure. Feeble Little Horse with Girl with Fish, HMLTD's new concept album The Worm, 100 gecs with 10,000 gecs, Lamp with Dusk To Dawn or One Night Pathos with its city pop slow burn, Foo Fighters, But Here We Are, the Lemon Twigs with Everything Harmony with a set of beautiful ballads on it, Snõõper with Super Snõõper, Genesis Owusu with Struggler, Snow Strippers with April Mixtape 3, Mike with Burning Desire, Black Country New Roads live album live at Bush Hall, and then hailing from Taiwan we have Cicada with Seeking the Sources of Streams with its ambient music. Hailing from Vietnam we have Rắn Cạp Đuôi with *1 with its creative electronic music. So top 50, let's start off with from South Korea, mega supergroup Balming Tiger with the album January Never Ends. Think of this album as like Korean Brockhampton. At 49, we have Tinashe with BB Angel, if you're down for some good R&B. 48, we have EABS with Jaubi with In Search for a Better Tomorrow. Really interesting jazz fusion album. Of course, EABS from Poland, Jaubi from Pakistan, a mix of styles, really. 47, Paramore returns to Meat and Potatoes alt rock on the album This Is Why. After that, we have Aesop Rock whipping out his dictionary once again with integrated tech solutions. And then at 46, Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra, Junk or Gem, where they blend J-pop with ska. Yeah. At 44, which makes a fantastic comeback album, the first comeback in decades, with the album Zango, where they continue the tradition of Zam rock with funky guitars and cool shouts. 43, it is the dissonant, dizzying black metal album, A Hive Mind Narcosis by the band Thantifaxeth. At 42, Jerome's Dream, The Gray in Between. Not only is this one of the catchiest, rawest, most hard-hitting, hardcore noise rock albums of the year, but also the track titles on this album are some of the most interesting track titles on an album this year. And then at 41, Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit comes together with Weather Vanes, a collection of very beautifully written, well-made country songs with storytelling. That's really nice. At number 40, Matana Roberts with Coin Coin Chapter 5, In the Garden. This is another helping of freaky avant-garde jazz from Matana Roberts. Again, telling stories about the oppression and the suffering that African American women have suffered, especially in the earlier parts of the 20th century. Really interesting concept album. And then at 39, I am giving it to Panopticon, The Rhyme of Memory, which is just this really cinematic, dramatic black metal album that really brings you to Nordic countries and you're just dying in the snow and stuff like that. 38, Billy Woods and Kenny Siegel, Maps, truly one of the most interesting rap albums of the year with really creative beats. Billy Woods, once again, with the eclectic lyrics, with the smart, witty bars, and this will not be the only time Billy Woods will be appearing on this list, so stay tuned for that. 37, Slow Tie's Ugly. I mean, he's not ugly. This album is called Ugly, you know. But yeah, Slow Tie switches lanes from hip hop to full on post punk slash noise rock. Maybe still a bit of rap, but this time it's so much more artsy. Also, very stressful, very intense, very emotionally uh, distressing listen. And then at 36, we have Navy Blue with Ways of Unknowing, an abstract rap album that, you know, dabbles in soul and jazz, but also has some of the best and most well written lyrics in hip hop this year. 36, I'm lost. Loewe with Bewitched. This album, I don't know why, but this is the one album that I just really enjoy. It's kind of a mainstream pick, but I just really like it. It's just a really solid set of tracks that sort of brings you back to the 1940s and 50s with the vintage pop and a bit of bossa nova here and there, a bit of jazziness here and there. Really nice. 34, this album grew a lot on me, and that album is Cobario with Super Key Generator. Yeah, this album, in first glance, it's like schizophrenia. It's like the most difficult Owusu map ever. But the more I listen to it, the more I just appreciate how intense and extreme it sounds, how next level it can take electronic music to. This album treats electronic music like it's metal, so that's really interesting. 33, Danny Brown with Quaranta. Danny Brown comes back with a new album, Quaranta. It's personal, it's sad, it's easily his moodiest album, it's easily his most introspective album as well, telling a lot of interesting stories from his past. 32, Liturgy 93696. This is Liturgy's magnum opus. May not be my favorite album from her, but still, I admire its boldness, its grandiosity, and just all the philosophical and religious themes that are worked into this experimental black metal album that just makes it so damn intriguing. 31, Colin Stetson with the breathy, jazzy, mind-numbing, meditative When We Were That Wet for the Sea. Alright, number 30, Joey Valence and Bray brings us back to the early 2000s with their rap album Punk Tactics. And then at 29, Sampha with Lahai. Again, Sampha is making music in the 22nd century. Like, the dude is from the future, because music on this album is so futuristic, so clean and sterile, so precise and angular and mathematic, but yet we have some beautiful performances, beautiful soulful vocals from Sampha. 28, I'm giving it to Blue and Real Bad Man with Bad News. Yeah, this is just an amazing match. Not only do we have some amazing, awesome, really well produced boom bap beats, but Blue, you can't go wrong with Blue. You cannot go wrong with Blue. 27, Group Therapy. I was mature for my age, but I was still a child. This is as playful, as fun as it can get, as this group try so many different genres. It's mainly hip hop, some alternative R&B here and there, some soul here and there, some funk here and there. There's a pop punk track on this album as well for some reason, and it all works out. They're just that freaking good at what they're doing. 26, King Cruel with their moody, sad, depressing, space heavy. And then at 25, Nico Paolo's self-titled album, truly some of the most sweet and dreamy and relaxing soft rock of the year. And then at 24, model actress, Dog's Body. Yeah, this is exactly what I want my post-punk to sound like, or my dance punk to sound like sometimes. It's so metallic and eccentric and quirky and sensual, and it's just so catchy and danceable, and so fruity and zesty. It's like, ooh, okay, ooh. Okay, 23, Caroline Polachek, Desire, I Want to Turn Into You. This is some of the best art pop of the year. Yeah, of the year. Caroline Polachek comes out with some of the catchiest, sweetest art pop tunes on this album, and her vocals are angelic. They're angelic. 22, I'm giving it to Death's Dynamic Shroud with After Angel. This is essentially a bunch of leftovers from their last album, but it still is good. Still as surreal, starry, and dreamy. 21, I'm giving it to Gecs with 3D Country. This is a country satire album with loads of swingy blues and saloon pianos and in-character singing. It's very cartoony. It has a lot of fun, and I'm liking it. So now we enter the top 20, and they are great. Arm & Hammer, We Buy Diabetic Test Strips. What an album title. What an album.
Toyota Cresta, heavy metal speaker. Don't kill the messenger, Henry Kissinger, my album's only feature.
This album grew more and more on me because this is not exactly like their previous albums. This album is woozy, it's very slow paced, it's very muddy and cloudy, but the more I listen to it, the more I think it's like a meditation session. And when I'm listening to some of the tracks on this album, I feel like I'm slowly falling into the void and time is slowing down. And it's just, I've never heard a rap album that does that. 19, Jessie Ware, That Feels Good.
Why do my realities take over all my dreams?
Yeah, Jessie Ware just does not miss. This is another helping of amazing disco tracks. The songs on this album are insanely catchy, and just anyone will groove to this album. Like Pearls, Begin Again, one of my favorites of the year, and Freak Me Now, literal banger, literal banger. 18, I am giving it to Ana Franco Elettrico, Me Chama de Gato que eu sou sua. Yeah, this is their latest album, and it's the best one they've done so far. It's so cutesy and funky and awesome and so full of personality. The vocalist of the group just sings with so much personality. It's awesome. And yeah, it's just the disco tracks on this album are also bangers. More disco, yeah. Okay, number 17, Anoni and the Johnsons, My Back Was a Bridge for You to Cross.
It must change.
This is a beautifully written from front to back album that dabbles into bits of soul and alternative R&B, but most important of all, this is a call to action. This album is, of course, about the oppression of the LGBTQ community, and Anoni explores these themes really tastefully and really cleverly with poetic lyrics, really poetic lyrics, and it's just such a forward-thinking and just motivated album. At number 16, I'm giving it to McKinley Dixon, Beloved, Paradise, Jazz.
Running from the guns, point and shoot, we used to play up on the play, bang bang.
This album is short but sweet. We have some of the most versatile production on this album. It tries many different things. There are bangers on this album. There are explosive cinematic moments on this album as well. There are definitely blissful, fun, playful moments on this album as well. McKinley Dixon hops on with a lot of charisma and storytelling in the lyrics as well. Definitely one of the most solid and well-rounded rap albums of the year for me. Now we have the top 15. Number 15, this album is not talked about enough. Leroy, Grave Robbing. Yeah, I like this album more than Jane Remover's Census Designated. I mean, they're the same person, but this is just straight bangers. There's no other way to explain why this album is great other than straight bangers. Yeah, the tracks on this album take EDM and just smash it, crumble it, crush it into Gen Z nervous meltdown is what I can describe this album. Yeah. 14, George Clanton, Ooh, Rap, I, Yeah. Yeah, even more charismatic. The Riz is strong. I can really feel the Riz on this album. I mean, what can I say? It's just a lot of really amazing, hazy, dreamy, nostalgic tracks that throw back to the 90s. And again, nostalgic, but I wasn't even born by then. And I think that's the magic of this album, is that it makes you feel nostalgic for memories that you never even really have. And to be able to achieve that is a feat in and of itself, with some really echoey production and also just catchy songwriting. This album definitely captures a certain vibe. It's a good vibes album. Number 13, one of the most well written, well put together black metal albums of the year. Horrendous, Ontological Mysterium. Yeah, Horrendous continues to put out amazing black metal. This album in particular is, again, slightly different from their previous album, but is equal parts fiery and enthusiastic, equal parts colorful and experimental, and full of unpredictable twists and turns. I love it when a black metal album does that, because the worst thing that can happen to black metal is boringness, boredom, drabness, and this album is anything but that. And then now we have a number 12 spot, which is really special because this artist will appear twice on this list. This is why I won't talk too much about this album, but it is Bet Cover with Uma, or Horse. This is their latest album, and just what can I say? Amazing songwriting, amazing charisma, amazing instrumentation, and I'll pretty much say the same thing when they reappear on this list. So let's move on to number 11, Sprain, The Lamb is Effigy. Apparently Sprain has disbanded. What the hell? But yeah, this is the noise rock that I've been craving for so long, because it's been a while since I've listened to noise rock this unhinged and wild and cursed and disturbing. And yeah, the only thing that's keeping this from being in the top 10 is that this album is a bit of a Daughters ripoff in my opinion, but I still freaking love it. I love how emotionally broken this album is, especially on the last track when the frontman of the band literally has to stop recording and like scream and cry, and then he goes back to the mic and he starts rambling again. This album is a psychological attack. It is a psychological assault, and I fucking love that shit. Okay. Okay, top 10. Here we go. Mitski, The Land is Inhospitable, and So Are We. This album just blew my mind. This album really blew my mind. I never expected myself to put Mitski in my top 10 best songs of the year and then the best albums of the year. But this truly is a gem of an album. This is Mitski truly not giving a shit on what her fans think and really make something she wants to make. This is an album that's full on Americana ballads. Someone's texting me. Oh my god. Okay. I'll tend to that later. Yeah, this is some of the most beautiful songwriting all year. The track Star, for example, almost pushed me to tears. And also other ballads on this album that just, it's Americana, so you feel the blues and gospel influences, but then you also get the dreamy, stargazy production that just really ascends you to heaven, you know? Number 9, this is a very special album for me. Very, very special. And that album is Kikuo Miku 7. Yeah, again, I feel like I'm like the only person on the internet who enjoys this album because no one talks about this album, but this album holds a special place in my heart. You know, every single year I discover a new artist and I just listen to the shit out of them. This year is Kikuo, and Kikuo Miku is, the first time I listened to it, I love it, but the more I listened to it, the more I loved it, and it has become my most replayed album of the year. Just every single track, from the cinematic and epic and bold album opener that is Good Kid and the Fox Spirit. Missing, one of my favorite songs of the year. My second favorite song, in fact. Voices of Svaha is this really bold and transcendent Buddhist, Hinduist experience. I mean, Svaha is a Hinduist goddess after all. And then we have Astral Traveling, which is such a blissful disco banger. But ultimately, what makes this album so special for me is that this album, there's just something so dreamy and melancholic and surreal and otherworldly about this album that just completely 100% captures how I feel during most part of 2023, especially from April to June, because of all the shit that happened to me. And this album just captures 2023. At number 8, I'm giving it to Lankum with False Lankum.
Oh Lordy, Lord, oh Lordy. I killed my wife and my children three.
This is an Irish folk album and is one of the most interesting albums I've heard all year because I've never expected myself to enjoy Irish folk music this much. But yeah, there are so many moments on this album where I listen to it and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm in the medieval ages or something in Dublin, Ireland. And it's just so transportive and immersive. And then there are these songs that tell stories. My favorite one being the song where a weary traveler is traveling from Ireland to New York of Amaarae, and it's telling this is telling us about this journey across the Atlantic Ocean. And on top of the Irish folk, you also get these very drony ambient moments that add a touch of darkness to all the music here, and it's so damn cool, and I keep coming back to it again and again and again. And it's just interesting music, creative, refreshing music that I really desperately needed this year. All right, 7? I think it's 7. Number 7, my main man, Paramore, After the Magic. Yeah, so it's crazy because when Paramore released To See the Next Part of the Dream a couple years ago, I listened to it and it's like nobody knows this man. But like as he continues to make music and seeing him progress in terms of musical style is really interesting because he does a bit of a 180 on this album. Instead of the sad, depressing, self-hating shoegaze, now we have the happy, blissful, wonderful shoegaze, and it is still beautiful shoegaze. Dense, thick, decadent layers of instrumentation, and you also get the the features on this album. Delazir is featured on this album a couple times, and that creates a lot of beautiful vocal duets. And also the instrumentation is even better on this album because it's a little bit digital, it's a little bit more electronic, so there's that feeling of warmth to it. It's just a very cozy album, very blissful, very wintry and snowy as well, if you see the album cover. Perfect for December, actually. Perfect. Number 6, I am giving it to Reverend Kristen Michael Hayter with Saved. She said she I like this album a lot, because this is a character album. On this album, Kristen Hayter plays a character, and that character is a reverend. And this album feels like a shitty, broken radio you find in the middle of nowhere in an abandoned church in the deep south, in rural Alabama or Mississippi or something like that. And it's so interesting. And the songs on this album are so dark and haunting and chilling, which I love. But then those songs are sometimes sandwiched by these shorter gospel tunes that are about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes long, where it's really just the lamb of the blood of the lamb of the Lord, and all that shit. It's really interesting. It is another religious experience. Like, there's so many religious albums this year that are just like that just feel religious. Like Kiko Miku is also very religious, and so is this, obviously. And it's just, I just love art about religion, Top 5. Number 5, Jeff Rosenstock, Hell Mode. This does not come as a surprise. This is easily his best album to date. This is pop punk in its rawest, craziest. Jeff Rosenstock comes in unapologetically with this insanely hard-hitting album. And not only is the instrumentals and the performances turned up to 11 on this album, Jeff Rosenstock screams his ass off, and the guitars on this album just go extremely hard. But also, what's awesome about this album is that it is about healing. It is about feeling better. It is about self-care. And, of course, it's called Hell Mode. So it's about self-care and, all that stuff. But it's so forward-thinking. It's such a nice twist. It's such a beautiful, sweet ending to the album. And there isn't a single skip on this album. Every single track sounds great. Every single track is a banger. And, yeah, this is just pop punk in its finest. And I just freaking love it. Number 4. Gezan and Million Wish Collective, Anochi. Holy shit, this album, god damn. I feel like I'm the only person in the world who enjoys this album, because nobody talks about this album, but this album blew my tiny mind. This is like if Swans meets Godspeed You Black Emperor meets a random homeless Japanese man, and it's this really big, bold, ugly, crazy monster of a concept album that is anti-war. It is about themes of war and peace. The first half of this album is just balls to the walls, insane, with crazy vocal performances and just relentless guitars and instrumentations, banging hand drums. And then the second half of this album is so gorgeous and so heavenly. I mean, literally heavenly, with the hallelujahs and everything. And it's just such a big album. It's so big, it's so massive, it's so crazy, it's just insane. And then at number 3, another Japanese album. 3 Japanese albums in the top 10, but they're just so good. Number 3, bet cover with tamago, or egg. This is released late last year, but it's so good I'm including this year. This is some of the best singer-songwriter music I've heard ever. Every single track on this album is amazing in and of itself. It's incredibly unpredictable, full of twists and turns because he tries so many different genres. Mostly on this album, it's prog jazz and alt rock and art rock. So there's moments of crazy, rambly jazz explosions, and then there are moments of ballad that's just really beautiful and you know, amazing performances. And then there are moments on this album that just sound like art rock, but just very strange because it has this J-rock twist, but then you have this avant-garde quality to it, and every single track sounds so starkly different. And on top of that, this is easily his most ambitious album to date. It's his longest. The tracks on this album are the longest. The track Superman is 9 minutes long, for example, and he still manages to deliver because they're multifaceted, they're full of twists and turns and full of changes here and there, and it's just so damn well written. I love the abstract and poetic lyrics as well. Number 2, Danny Brown and JPEG Mafia, Scaring the Hose, Volume 1. This is like a shitty mixtape you find in somebody's basement randomly, and it just has that vibe. And maybe it's because of that, it makes this album feel even more special. This is easily the best work Peggy has put out, in my opinion. And this is easily some of the best work Danny Brown has put out as well. Every single track is great. And again, there aren't a lot of skips or dull moments on the album. There is this very constant sense of humor and sense of I don't give a fuck attitude in this album that's really nice. It's whack. It's not for your average hip-hop fan because it's whack. But at the same time, a lot of the tracks on this album are really accessible, enjoyable bangers. Perfect, for example. And then you get these very sweet, beautiful, heavenly rap tracks like God Loves You, which I just love it so much, and also Kingdom Hearts Keys. This album also has some of the most eclectic and wildly creative sampling you will find all year, and also the very creative blend of drum and bass and hip-hop with the tracks Fentanyl Tester, and then the hand claps on the title track, and then the bass boosted beats on the album opener, Lean Beef Patty. It's just, the more I listen to it, the more I'm like, oh, that track is actually really good. Oh, that one's really good. Oh, that one's really good. And it's just one of the most replayable albums all year. Now we move on to number 1, and this is not going to surprise you. Sufjan Stevens. Oh, I forgot the drum roll. Rewind. Sufjan Stevens, Javelin. Yeah, this is no surprise. No surprise for everyone, anyone. This is easily the best album of the year. Like, it's no competition. It's no competition. This is the most emotionally potent album of the year. There isn't a single album that almost made me cry, aside from Sufjan Stevens' Javelin. This is the most emotionally raw we've seen him since Carrie and Lowell. And it's not just the person I love has passed away and I'm sad, the album. This album takes it one step further, transcends it, and turns it into something blissful and beautiful. This album is more so a celebration of his memories with his loved ones rather than focusing on the grief itself. And it is such a fantastic remedy to that grief because you have the lively, beautiful flutes and the amazing, dense, gorgeous instrumental arrangements on the album. The 8-minute long climax to the album Shit Talk is also my favorite song of the year and is literally the climax if this album was a movie. But also ballads like Will Anybody Ever Love Me, So You Are Tired, the Christmassy vocal harmonies on Genuflecting Ghost, and the title track, which is short but cold and sad and lonesome. This is some of the most just personal and hard-hitting lyrics and songwriting all year. It's just feels like a movie, and I just feel different after the album. It's an album that really hits you hard and changes you and is easily the best of the year. So yeah, these are my favorite albums of the year. Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. Thanks for watching.